Think about the last time you went grocery shopping. You grabbed the same things you always buy, the same brand of eggs, the same bread, the same chicken, the same basics you've been buying for years. And when you got to the checkout, the total was higher than you expected. Again. You probably told yourself it was inflation, supply chain issues, the war in Ukraine, higher fuel costs. Some of that is true, but it is not the whole story. Because while you were adjusting your budget, cutting back, choosing store brands over name brands, the 5 largest grocery corporations in America reported their highest profits in history. In the same years your bill went up. This is the story of how the global food supply became a financial instrument, how algorithmic pricing, corporate consolidation, and regulatory failure turned your grocery bill into a profit machine, and how the people responsible have faced almost no consequences whatsoever. To understand what happened to your grocery bill, you need to understand what happened to the grocery industry over the past 30 years. In 1990, the United States had thousands of independent grocery chains, regional supermarkets, and local food suppliers competing for your business. That competition kept prices honest. When one store raised prices, customers walked across the street. Then came the mergers. Kroger acquired Fred Meyer, then Ralph's, then Harris Teeter, then Mariano's, then Roundy's. Albertsons absorbed Safeway, Vons, Pavilions, Tom Thumb, and dozens more regional chains. Walmart expanded its grocery operations until it became the largest food retailer in American history. Today, just 4 companies, Walmart, Kroger, Costco, and Albertsons, control nearly 70% of all grocery sales in the United States. And it's not just the stores. 4 companies control over 80% of the beef processing market. 4 companies control over 50% of the pork market. 3 companies control the majority of chicken processing in America. At every level of the food supply chain, from the farm to the processing plant to the distribution network to the store shelf, a handful of corporations have systematically eliminated competition over decades. And when competition disappears, so does the pressure to keep prices low. Here is where the story gets darker. In 2017, a software company called RealPage introduced a product to the rental housing market that used artificial intelligence to set prices across thousands of properties simultaneously, effectively allowing competing landlords to coordinate rent increases without ever speaking to each other. The Department of Justice is currently investigating this as illegal price fixing. The grocery industry did the same thing years earlier, and almost nobody noticed. A company called Revionics, later acquired by Aptos, sells AI-powered pricing software to grocery chains across America. The software analyzes competitor prices, demand patterns, and consumer behavior to automatically adjust prices across entire product categories simultaneously. When Kroger raises the price of eggs using this software, Albertsons raises it too. Not because someone made a phone call, because both companies are responding to the same algorithmic recommendations in the same direction at the same time. The legal definition of price fixing requires coordination between competitors. If an algorithm coordinates prices without executives ever communicating directly, is it illegal? That question is currently being argued in federal courts across the United States. In the meantime, the prices keep going up. And here is the number that should make you stop and read it twice. Between 2020 and 2023, the profit margins of the largest American grocery corporations increased by an average of 278%. Not revenue, profit margins. While your grocery bill went up, their profits went up nearly 3 times faster. But price increases are only half the story. Meet shrinkflation. Shrinkflation is the practice of reducing the size or quantity of a product while keeping the price the same, or raising it. It is legal, it is widespread, and it is deliberately designed to be difficult to notice. A bag of Doritos that contained 9.75 ounces in 2020 contains 9.25 ounces today. Same bag, same price, half an ounce gone. A Gatorade bottle shrank from 32 ounces to 28 ounces. A Cottonelle toilet paper roll went from 340 sheets to 312. A Hellmann's mayonnaise jar went from 30 ounces to 24. The Consumer Price Index, the government's official measure of inflation, does not always account for shrinkflation, which means the true cost increase you're experiencing at the grocery store is likely higher than official inflation figures suggest. Edgar Dworsky, a consumer advocate who has tracked shrinkflation for over 30 years, estimates that shrinkflation is currently occurring at the highest rate he has ever recorded. Food companies have a name for the moment when a product gets smaller. They call it a weight out. They do not tell you about it. They redesign the packaging slightly, make the bottom of the jar a little thicker, the bag a little narrower, so the change is harder to see on the shelf. You're being charged more for less through a system specifically designed so you won't notice, and it is perfectly legal. In 2022, President Biden publicly accused grocery corporations of price gouging, using inflation as cover to raise prices beyond what costs justified. In 2024, the Federal Trade Commission launched an investigation into grocery pricing practices, specifically examining whether dominant retailers were using their market power to squeeze suppliers and raise consumer prices simultaneously. The FTC report, released in 2024, found that large grocery chains had used the disruptions of the pandemic to come out ahead financially, while consumers and suppliers struggled. Congress held hearings. Grocery executives testified. They cited supply chain disruptions. They cited labor costs. They cited fuel prices. They said their margins were thin and their business was difficult. They said this while reporting record profits. Senator Elizabeth Warren sent letters to the CEOs of the largest grocery chains demanding justification for their pricing. Most responded with carefully worded statements prepared by their legal teams. The Kroger-Albertsons merger, which would have combined the first and second largest traditional grocery chains in America into a single entity controlling over 35% of the national market, was blocked by a federal judge in late 2024 on antitrust grounds. It was one of the few concrete actions taken. The algorithmic pricing software is still running, the shrinkflation is still happening, and the profits are still record-breaking. This is not uniquely American. In the United Kingdom, a parliamentary inquiry found that grocery chains had raised prices faster than their own costs increased, pocketing the difference while consumers struggled with the highest food inflation in 45 years. In Canada, grocery executives were summoned before Parliament to explain pricing practices. The CEO of Loblaws, Canada's largest grocery chain, faced national outrage after the company reported billions in profits, while Canadian families reported skipping meals. In Australia, in Germany, in France, in every developed economy where grocery markets have consolidated, the same pattern has emerged. Costs go up for consumers. Profits go up for corporations. Accountability goes nowhere. The global food system, the network of farms, processors, distributors, and retailers that feeds the entire human population, is now controlled by a smaller number of corporations than at any point in recorded history. 10 companies control the majority of the world's food brands. 4 companies control the majority of global grain trading. 3 companies control the majority of the world's seeds. When that level of concentration exists in any market, housing, banking, media, prices go up and accountability goes down. Food is not different. Food is just more personal. Because unlike a streaming service, you can cancel, or a house you can choose not to buy. You cannot opt out of eating. Here is what this story is actually about. It is not about corporate greed, though that is part of it. It is not about inflation, though that is part of it too. It is about what happens when the basic necessities of human life, food, shelter, healthcare, education, are treated as financial instruments to be optimized rather than foundations to be protected. Every story the Dark Vault has told follows the same pattern. A system that should serve people gets captured by the people with the most money. The rules get written to protect the capture, and the people at the bottom of the system pay the price in rent, in debt, in grocery bills, in lost savings, while the people at the top post record profits. You're not bad at budgeting. You're not spending too much on coffee. You are living in a system that has been deliberately engineered to extract as much as possible from you for as long as possible, with as little accountability as possible. Knowing that doesn't fix your grocery bill, but it's a start. Next time you're at the checkout and the total surprises you, you'll know why. The Dark Vault opens every Thursday. Subscribe, because the next story's already in your wallet.